Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Yankonomics here, and I'm bringing you a 205,000 damage game in the Lenin today. So we spawn in here on our favorite map, Haven, and we kind of put on a little bit of a showcase here about how to survive one of these type of matches too. This campaign we had a lot of legendary ships. This gave a lot of our newer player base a chance to rent some of these legendary ships that they maybe haven't played at all. So a lot of times the hardcore tier 7 players, kind of like myself, and a good chunk of the crew that I play with, we had to deal with a lot of legendary ships in this campaign. So I think this video today is going to be a pretty decent, at least a pretty decent video about not only how to play in a match where you have a lot of those legendary ships, but also it showcases a pretty darn good game in one of my favorite ships, the Lenin. The Lenin is a Russian tier 7 premium battleship. It's very hard to get. It was very hard to get. I imagine at some point Wargaming will probably bring it back for, who knows, global XP maybe, or a chance to buy it as a premium, or maybe it'll be even a super prize in crates someday. So we spawn into Haven here. I got a Minotaur on my right. Now this Minotaur is actually going to set a smoke screen, and he's going to sit in it, which works out incredibly well in my favor. And right off the bat, we see a Kurfürst broadside, and we had a Yamato to its left. So I line up a shot here on the Kurfürst, and I think I get an okay hit here. And there they are. Yeah, so it's okay. 12,000 to start off on your first salvo is not too bad. Now here's where I start seeing a lot of these ships pushing up on the left. They're heading really strong into C, and they're not slowing down. So here's that smoke screen I was telling you about. The Minotaur lays this, and it gives me a chance to sit in this thing and not be spotted and just keep shooting broadsides from across the map here, at least for a couple minutes. So I don't have a whole lot to talk about in that regard. But when I'm sitting in the smoke screen here, it's just basically reload, point and click, and shoot. And that's kind of what I end up doing here. So we had a really good hit on that Bismarck. And now we have a Friesland that intermediately gets spotted. We have an Odin pushing in there as well. I think we chunked that Bismarck for about 21,000 damage. So that was a good salvo. Now I'm lining up shots on the Odin. And again, every single salvo that I'm taking right now, I'm not getting spotted because I'm sitting in the smoke screen here with this Minotaur who's also not being spotted. And I'm also covered by the island on my left on Haven here so that I'm not at risk of getting shot by the Yamato, because that's the one ship that really, it gives me fits, because those 18.1 inch shells, they really do a lot of damage, and they overmatch just about all the armor in the game, including my own. So I like to think that my ships are allergic to those shells. Here we go, another salvo at the Odin. Plunk. There we go. Another nice little hit on these battleships. Now again, they're not slowing down here to see. They just keep going. And this is a game that just kind of came to us a little bit, almost kind of stressing a little bit of caution when you move into a match like this. And I end up getting a reload here, and I think I hit this Friesland once or twice, which is kind of nice because these things are nasty too. These Frieslands, they spit out so many shells, and they're so bad for the health of our destroyers that it's any chance you can get to shoot a destroyer in general, it's a good chance to take. So the Odin ends up coming through here. He ends up getting stuck on the corpse of his Bismarck right there, and it appeared that that Bismarck might have had second thoughts about trying to rush in there as hard as what he did. So the Odin looked like he was trying to come through that gap. He gets stuck on the corpse of his friend Bismarck, and then we take another nice little chunk out of that Odin for about 15,000 health points right there. So now the interesting part is we're up to 66,823. Odin's gone off the board. Now we start getting into a position where we can start pushing a little bit. Now they have 2 caps, we have 1, but our guys on C are going to start heading toward it right now because they don't have a whole lot over there to worry about now that we took out the Bismarck, we took out the Odin, and one of the destroyers over there has been taken out as well. And right about here is where I end up getting a really nice salvo on this GK, Grosser Kurfürst broadside. I believe I get a Citadel hit on this one. Now I just line up the shot kind of waterline. And it's a long shot for a Lenin, but nothing that it can't hit from this range. Typically I like playing the Lenin more towards that 14 to 15 kilometer range, but this shot right here was a real good one. So I end up chunking him. We get about 36,000 on that salvo, which is pretty impressive. Or 26,000 on that salvo. So not bad at all. And then my good buddy Feel My Flame's like, hey man, I want to join the game. Don't worry, Flame, I'll be there in a second. Jank's got to do a 205,000 damage game, and I got to do a recording for it. So here's where I get lucky. I push into here, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can just chunk this Yamato on our left. He's got a lot of health, and then the GK really slaps him right here. So that GK takes out a big chunk of his health, and I'm thinking, okay, I might have a chance for one of those kind of salvos myself. Unfortunately, I pull out here, the Yamato starts turning out, and I don't get anything. I miss that shot pretty bad. Now here's where I get lucky. Now this Yamato's got my broadside, and being broadside and a Lenin to a Yamato, let's just say it's bad for my health, and typically when this happens, we as players get lead poisoning. So here comes the Yamato. He's turning his guns. I figure that maybe I can get a shot on him too, as long as he's going to chunk me here. I really thought this was going to be the end of my game, and I get pretty lucky right there. How I did not get Citadel is beyond me. So with that salvo, that brings us up to 105,000 damage. Now we're just under 6 minutes into the game. We're pushing up. We get an assist capture on this base, which, if anybody knows, if you're in a battleship, and in any ship in general, you're going to get a big chunk of XP points for getting into a cap. Now we have a target-rich environment ahead of us. We have the Stalingrad, who ends up getting a really nice salvo on me right here. And my hat's off to him. I get chunked. Ready? Plop. See, I'm not perfect, and I'm definitely prone to make mistakes, and I've made 2 mistakes. That Stalingrad finally made me pay on that one. Now, knowing that the Stalingrad's got about a 17-18 second reload, I want to make sure that he doesn't do that to me again, so I start pointing my bow towards that Stalingrad. And I noticed that the carrier at some point had been spotted right near where that Montana is, so we're going to go ahead and line up a shot at this Montana, and I'm going to be on the lookout for their carrier, because whenever I see a carrier, that's kind of target priority. Those things are sneaky. They can launch planes. They can do damage from you to you from across the map. So with that salvo on the Montana, we ended up doing about 22, almost 23,000 damage there. Broadside Montana. Again, Lenin's got 16-inch shells, and you just have to kind of twist the front end around a little bit. And here's where the Implacable gets hit really hard, and he almost gets away here. I end up getting all of my turrets to bear, and I end up firing them sequentially. So the first 2 go off, I get a chunk, and then he goes unspotted, but that rear turret there, ended up getting the shells off and around the island for the kill, so nothing wrong with that. So now I know that the Montana and the Stalingrad are still here. Stalingrad's reversing at this point, so what I try to do is I try to cut back in and towards the left here. And I'm hoping that what he does here is makes the mistake of getting too far back there so that I can shoot him on his broadside. Even at an angle, the Stalingrad's going to take massive damage from 16-inch shells. It's got a very strong bow, but the sides on that thing are pretty weak in my opinion. So I'm taking a shot here at the Stalingrad. I get about 11,000. Then the next one's hit, and then the Confederate medal pops. So I end up with about a 18,000 damage hit there, and a Confederate medal to boot. So that brings us up to 157,000 damage, and we still have a very, very healthy Montana, and we still have that Stalingrad in front of us. So I start sneaking up here a little bit. I don't want to overextend myself because my team still hasn't taken care of that Yamato on the other side of the map, because I'm thinking I might have to go back around and finish that off if I can. Now at this point I'm not really thinking about loading HE just yet, because I'm still getting ships that are going broadside to me. I think it's the friendly Minotaur that was behind us that laid the smoke screen earlier in the game. He's the one that's kind of doing the chunking shots. You can see the shells kind of raining down over the top of my ship. He gave that Stalingrad a lot of shells. Now here's where I was really surprised. I can't believe I didn't get the kill on that Stalingrad. Just it hit in a place where I guess I couldn't do any damage to it. Sometimes that happens. But here's where I'm thinking, oh dear, they don't have the Stalingrad dead yet. I'm going to line up another shot and I'm going to take it. But just as I say that, the Minotaur gets it. That's the one that laid the smoke screen down for us earlier in the game. And now I'm able to focus all my attention on this Montana while going into their last controlled cap for the game. So I sit in this cap until it's captured, getting the XP for that as well, and sending the point swing heavily in our favor. Now at this point in the game, we're 5-on-2. There's not a very good chance that they're going to come back and win this one. However, they do have a very healthy Montana yet, and I'm not really sure how much health the Yamato had. I was kind of banking on the fact that the Minotaur behind me was going to go take care of him, and I was watching to see if he was going to get death struck, which could have actually happened there too. So with this shot, we end up getting a high caliber. I'd switched to high explosive because the Montana wasn't showing me any more broadside. And in order to do damage on these legendary battleships, sometimes when they do that to you, you just got to do it, man. You got to load HE and you got to take care of the shot. So he damage cons that fire, and I end up reloading here and getting a pretty good salvo off, which ends up double firing him, which keeps him on fire then until the rest of the game. There it comes. There it goes. And there's the double fire. So seven rounds hit, 2 fires. I'm up to 183,000 damage. Just keep climbing from here. So we do have a 4v2. The Yamato does kill the Minotaur. The Minotaur ends up killing the Yamato as well. It's just a flesh wound medal, which means he ended up getting that kill after he was dead, but just barely. So I could see my team had pretty much moved up to this point. We were pushing this Montana pretty hard here, and just like that, the values are still climbing. I'm up to 202. And then right here, I believe the teammate gets the kill here. Oh, nope, never mind, that's me. I get the kill on this one. And that ends our game with the Lenin. We end up with a high caliber, we end up with a Confederate, and 205,206 damage. And we end up with 3,046 base XP, which ends up being a pretty darn good game for us. So that's going to do it for me today. I'm glad I could walk you through this one on the voiceover. Subscribe to Yonkonomics on YouTube, and don't forget to hit the like button. See you guys next time. Peace.